Hola, bom dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show from expatsportugal.com. What an exciting morning. About 5,500 British tourists, I believe, are arriving in the Algarve today. What do you think about that? It should be interesting to talk about that after a very special guest who I discovered late last night, newly arrived in Portugal, a fabulous comedian by the name of Tamer Kattan. I'm going to make sure I've got his name pronounced correctly as well. He's in Lisbon this morning. He's going to talk to us on the Good Morning Portugal show. Tamer, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Carl. You said my name perfectly. A+.
I'm not sure if I could do it again, but I'm so glad. I'm delighted. And welcome. You're newly arrived, as I said, in Lisbon, in Portugal. Tell us a story of that. Are you glad to be here?
I couldn't be happier. It's funny. I was really, the more good stuff I heard, the more concern I had. It was almost like a movie that someone hypes up too much. And I was worried that when I got here, it wasn't going to live up to the hype. But it beyond exceeded everything I could have hoped for. It's a really great country, and not just the beauty of the architecture and the music and the streets and all that. It's just the people too. It definitely has an impact on the people that live here, and we couldn't be happier.
Oh, I'm so happy for you both. May you have many happy and healthy years here.
Cheers.
And you bring a very special gift with you. You are a comedian of 10 years, originating from the United States, but you've come to Europe to continue your comedy career. And I would love to talk to you about that. Could you tell us first, though, where you've come from in the United States?
Sure. I'm from New York. My family's in Los Angeles, but I've been in New York the last 10 years. And I fell in love with a woman on Bumble during COVID. I think it's funny, like everybody loves New York, but nobody loves New York when you can't leave your apartment. It's something it's such an outdoor city that you, especially as a comic, you forget what cramped spaces you live in and how it's just not a city made for living indoors. So I found this feature on a dating app called Passport. And so you can be in a different city in the world. And it's kind of the way I used to travel when I was in university and didn't have money. I would use the internet to travel, with videos and pictures. It's kind of how I found you before we got to Portugal, really.
Yes, and, we live in, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and so I found this Passport feature, and I didn't think much of it, and I met this Swedish woman, and we clicked like gangbusters, and I was like, this is crazy. I can't believe I've met someone that I get along with so well, and she had a Mel Brooks tattoo. Forearm.
Love it.
It's good to be the king. And I just fell in love with her. It was I actually created a profile on Bumble that was an anti-profile. I was so sick of everybody having the representative of themselves be so much better than the real thing. And as a comedian, we're all about honesty and transparency. So I just made this profile where I said, here's what I stink at. Sometimes I'm selfish. I'm terrible at this. I'm terrible at that. I'm awful at that. And she wrote back in kind, and we began this foundation of brutal honesty. And 3 weeks later, we were talking about how we can meet. And I already had COVID pretty early in New York because of the subway system. And I had, paperwork from my doctor that said I had the antibodies. And at the time, there was this little window where Americans could travel into Spain. So I got my ticket, went to Spain, and the plan was to live together in Barcelona and get to know each other in real life. But what happened is when I got to the border, they informed me that they changed the law when I was in the air. And they said, come with us. And they took me straight to jail. and they made me spend the night in a jail, in an airport jail cell. There's a police station in the Barcelona airport, and I spent the night there. The next morning, they flew me straight back to the States, and we're devastated. And I kept doing research, and I found Gibraltar, where John Lennon and Yoko Ono got married. And it was this odd little loophole where it was on Spanish soil, but owned by the UK and kind of operating as an independent country, and said, hey, and they were letting Americans in. So a week later, I was back on a flight, flew into Gibraltar. She flew to Malaga, then drove a car, and we met in Gibraltar. And the day I met her, I got down on one knee and I asked her to marry me.
Wow. Wow. What a story. What a story. Your kids will never believe that. That's amazing. Absolutely incredible.
Crazy.
Yeah, to be thrown in the slammer on arrival, and there's a Spanish welcome for you. Incredible. And then you found the loophole in Gibraltar, which is a loophole of a place. I mean, loophole is Gibraltar's middle name, really. And now, so I don't even know what Bumble is, but I love this story. So you went from dating and creating an online relationship to must be together in Europe, and then you've got married in the COVID year as well. Is that right?
Exactly. We actually got to Gibraltar. We're planning on getting married within 2 days, but I needed to get my original passport in order to get married. And because of COVID, it was delayed for almost 2 weeks. So we were like living on Gibraltar. By the 10th day, everyone in Gibraltar knew us as this stranded, hoping to get married couple.
Well, the leader over there, he's quite an interesting guy, actually. I've had reason to talk about him in a different context. But I don't know what his official title is, but he runs a tight ship, I think, in Gibraltar. And maybe he came to your wedding as well. I don't know. So you got married there?
We got married there, and as soon as we got married, then they told us, hey, by the way, it's going to take 2 weeks to get your marriage certificate, but here's a piece of paper that says these two are married. And then we walked to the border, didn't take a car, we walked to the border. And the border, sometimes it really just depends on who's there and what their personality is like. And he didn't even look at the paperwork, he just waved me through. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, look at the paperwork, damn it.
Yes,
look at it.
We've taken a lot of trouble with this paperwork. But maybe it was the tin cans that you were trailing behind you that gave the game away there. But that's amazing. So you got to get married where John and Yoko got married. And now you find yourselves in, so Lisbon why Lisbon? Why the next step, Portugal?
Well, my wife had been living in Barcelona for about 8 years, 7, 8 years. And I mean, when you're a comedian in New York, I was doing between 10 to 12 shows every night. And it went, and our money comes from doing those shows. And when COVID happened, it went from making a great living to zero, like absolute zero. And we don't have unions, and the American system, as far as performers go, I mean, we were abandoned. So when she told me Portugal, I was like, wait, it's even smaller than Barcelona? And the Barcelona scene was too small for me. So I was like, this is crazy. I don't think I can do it. But at the same time, I think I mentioned to you before we started the interview that us comedians, we're lone wolves. It's very rare that we work together in an organized way. But because of COVID, we had time. It wasn't like someone was running off to a show or running off to an interview or whatever. We were all in place. So we created this group called the Comedians of Europe, where a bunch of comedians who all work together on the London scene, now spread out in Finland, Croatia, Czech Republic, Portugal, Romania, Spain, all over. We got together and we got organized, and we created a group called Comedians of Europe, and we applied for funding. There's an EU program for nonprofits, and we figured out great transportation routes between the cities, got familiar with all the bookers, created an identity and everything, and it's been fantastic. And so we said, hey, let's make Portugal the very first place we go, because my friend Andrea de Freitas, who's a local from Portugal, lives here. I'm now living here, and so we started the tour here in Porto, actually.
Yeah, well, we got it on the screen there. So Tama, Andre, and Victor, Comedians in Europe, stand-up comedy in English, May the 20th, 2021. Doors 7 and 9 p.m. in Porto at the Teatro Sa Bandeira. Tickets online at ticketline.suppo.pt. Fantastic. I mean, will you stay with us a bit longer? Because you have
Absolutely.
a very oh, great, because we're going to say hello to a few people this morning, and you might want to interrupt if any of them attract your attention. As like the people sat in the first row of the crowd, you sir, what do you do for a living? You know, that kind of thing. You're already getting a bit of a warm welcome here. Vitor Costa, mustache, just arrived in Lisbon and already Portuguese essence. So you got Portuguese essence all over your face, literally.
I love it. I'm not just a comedian. I'm a model for salsa bottles.
Fantastic. Yes, whatever works in COVID times, right? So, Mark in Australia, all aboard this morning. Hola, bon dia, alegria de todos, de California, from Virginia Larson. Yes, so California. I guess you've done a few gigs in California in your time.
Yeah, definitely.
Hola, bon dia, Grassa, Donna Grassa's here. Saudações from Victor, who mentioned your moustache. Bon dia from Carlos Costa. As you can see, we've got viewers from all over the world here. Bon dia, alegria from Brixham. That's in Devon in the UK. Do you like the UK?
I adore the UK. I always have. I mean, I'm Egyptian by nationality. I was born in Cairo, and you know, my first hero was Anwar Sadat, and his wife was an English woman. So ever since I was and my dad, okay, this is great. When I was a kid, my dad was in a Beatles cover band.
Oh, brilliant.
And they sang Beatles songs, but with Arabic accents. It was hilarious.
Oh,
so,
we would we'd love to see is it on YouTube? I mean, that's amazing. If the old VH whatever is on YouTube.
Oh, this was pre YouTube, but it was amazing. Like my dad would call my mom and say, "Hey, they're not giving us money tonight, but they're paying us in food. Bring the baby." And then they'd take me to these bars and feed me pickles.
Oh, brilliant! It made you the man you are today. That's amazing. So, but presumably there are some, you know, Super 8 or VHS tapes that could be uploaded to VHS. That'd be amazing to see. Beatles.
Man, I wish. I gotta hound my mom and see if we can find something in the boxes. But there's definitely pictures. I can definitely get the photographs.
Oh, the pictures would be amazing, I'm sure. Leslie's here as well. Bon dia from Faro today. Highs of 80 degrees, where they're expecting a massive influx of Brit tourists today and others. But we'll dig deeper into this later on. But 5,500 Brits arriving in the Algarve. What could possibly go wrong? I mean, Tama, what do you think? What happens when 5,500 British people arrive wanting to party and holiday? I mean, it seems to go counter to all the care that people are and worries that people have right now. Can you imagine that?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know what's funny? I think a lot of times when we experience stress or distress, we're often alone. This is the first time where we've gone through this traumatic experience together, and I think because of that, we don't realize that we're all experiencing PTSD. Like in the middle of the pandemic, I'd watch a movie where someone was walking into a crowded house, and I'd get anxiety. So I think there's a little bit of that, but I trust in science, and I also trust in the pandemic in 1919, and I see there's a real pattern with how these things work, and I think that good days are coming, and this is a first step forward. I think it's good to be cautious, but it's good to be cautiously optimistic. I think we need the optimism right now, so fingers crossed that it all goes well, and I can't wait to hug strangers again.
Well said. Well said. Get their permission first, because that could be a bit weird in Portugal. WTF from Vitor. He's a big fan, I think, already of yours. I'm having. He might come. He may well come to your Porto gig. He's up there in the north. I'm having visits.
That's great.
Next week, adding to those numbers, says Louise. Morning from a very great Hertfordshire. This is in the UK. Had a bloke called Noah knock on the door last night asking for spare wood for a boat he's building. So peeing it down. Cats in the UK. On the bright side, you've got some amazing comedy material right there. So what are your observations already of Portuguese people? I mean, we've got Portuguese friends on the show, and I'm wondering what you've noticed already about Portugal and Portuguese people. Have you had to sit in many queues yet? I guess that's not so easy at the moment.
Well, obviously the first thing I notice is, we've got the Christ statue in Lisbon, right next to the Golden Gate Bridge knockoff, and so it's really funny because they're not, the colonialism hasn't changed, right? Like we're gonna take from other places. But honestly, it's been so incredibly positive. I cannot get over, my first and best Portuguese experience so far is we live in the Alfama, and it's quite challenging to get a moving van near the front of our house. So we went in a parking garage that was fortunately pretty close by. And in the parking garage, in the chaos of the move, we lost the parking ticket, the entry ticket. And in New York, when you do that, you're paying for the whole day, and it's about $50 easily.
Yeah.
So I walked into this window, just, hunched over, like I know I'm gonna have to pay. And I told the woman at the cash register what happened. She goes, "Okay, well, when did you park?" And I said, 2:30. And she goes, "That'll be three and a half euro." And I just looked at her, and she started laughing. And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm just stunned because this isn't the way it works in the States." And she goes, "You told me you came at 2:30. Why wouldn't I believe you?" And I almost cried. I almost cried. I was like, "This is crazy."
I'm almost crying now. That is
the kindness is real. Like it's really great.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. El Blackman Reynolds, a bon dia alegria, coming from, I'm not sure where there, but a lovely sunshiny emoticon. Wow. This is about your story that you told us, Tama, about your dating and then marriage and then everything happening in a year here. Congratulations from Denise there. Let us be, many people, I'm sure, who are wishing you well with this wonderful whirlwind romance that you're experiencing, that brought you here to Portugal. Tama, welcome to the other land of opportunity and magic. I see what he did. You're in the right place, sir.
Nice.
Future has many possibilities, says Gary. I'll come. I came in on the end of the story. I have to watch. You must watch the replay. It's such a beautiful story that Tama's told us this morning. Bon dia de Marseille in France, obviously. Tama, that made a good movie. Yes, the story of your life. Well, obviously, a great film. Who do you want to play you in that? Who's going to play you and your wife?
Well, I'd want to bring Telly Savalas back to life.
Of course.
There's so many great bald people to pick from, but it would have to be a bald guy.
Okay. Greeting from Provence, from Robert Winkel, Mike Campion from Maastricht this morning. Bon dia alegria from a very rainy Maastricht. It's not raining here. I get it's nice and sunny in Lisbon, I'm guessing, as well this morning, right?
No, it's not. Actually, it's pretty nice here.
Yeah. Please tell me Kim Barreiros, the Portuguese legend. Are you up to speed with these guys in Portugal as well?
I had someone mention that to me, that I've already had him mention to me, so I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, the thing is with obviously Portuguese comics are going to be talking Portuguese in the best of their routines, I would have thought. So that's going to need a little bit of help from somebody like Vitor to translate the great Portuguese comic classics. Bon dia from João Matosinhos. That's not far from where you'll be, up in Porto, and from Portugal, from a Bill Burr fan. Good morning.
Bill's a friend. Dia. That's great.
Oh, really? You work with some of the big comics in the States, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I was a headlining comic at all the biggest clubs in New York, and absolutely worked with Bill, worked with Chris Rock, with Louis C.K. Same with the other comics that are part of the Comedians of Europe tour. I won Best New International Actor at the Ed Fringe, and so have all the other comics. The Comedians of Europe is really the best comedians from London that have now been scattered across Europe because of COVID. Instead of going back to London, we're going to tour Europe together.
Oh, this is fantastic. We are privileged and delighted to have you on the show. I'm going to put a link to YouTube of one of your sets there. So please don't look at that yet. We're talking to this man in person, so look at it later, and it will really cheer you up. It's hilarious. From Antonio F, Portuguese man, bon dia, Portuguesa, this morning. Bon dia to you, Antonio. Hello from Koh Samui, tropical island in Thailand. Love that story. From the New Yorker, you're known as the New Yorker to us now. Morning, Carl. Love New York. A lot of love for your home city as well. John Rooney. Morning, hey, Tamer. Bring me back a rock from Portugal, please.
That's so funny. I wonder. That's so bizarre because had this little. I was on an interview before. And I mentioned that sometimes as an American, when you travel, people in the States talk to you like you're an astronaut, and they're like, "Oh, you're going to Spain? Bring me back a rock."
Yeah, there's some,
So that's the deal.
People say some I have very interesting ideas about America, certainly in Portugal as well, which I'm sure you'll get up to speed with in due course. Bon dia from Arainis.com. Love your story. Time to check out Bumble. Would you recommend Bumble? And obviously you'd recommend online dating.
Definitely. Actually, it's funny that the woman Anna Olsen is from Stockholm. We call Stockholmers 08ers because that's the area code in Sweden. And I know that because my wife is Swedish and also Anna, and she's from Malmo in the south of Sweden. The thing that I love about Bumble, especially in the day and age we're living in, is that the woman is in charge. You don't get to reach out. She has to reach out to you first. And I loved it because, you know, I saw Anna and I absolutely adored her face, her smile, the words in her profile. And I just had to keep my fingers crossed and wait for her to make the first move.
Oh, beautiful. Fantastic. Victoria Benson, Bon dia Alegria from Atlanta, Georgia. Pessoas bonitas this morning. Doreen Reyes, also in the States. Good morning. Fabulous stories, Tama. Looking forward to seeing one of your shows. Barbara from Poland this morning. Bon dia. Vitor Costa, my man, you ever come to Barcelos, Ponta de Lima, Braga, Viana do Castelo, etc., let me know and I'll meet you there. If you need help up in the really far north of Portugal, and there'll be some rich comedy up there, I'm sure. Vitor is your man there if you guys need some help with that. Be careful who you trust in science when science is with the money, says JH. Carla Freeman, bon dia from Dublin this morning as well. I'm sure you're going to get to Dublin. Great crowd there, right?
Yeah.
Coming to put
January. I'm going to Dublin. I'm going to Laughter Lounge in Dublin in January.
Oh, superb. Hi, Tama from Susan Renshaw. Welcome to Portugal. Have fun. Hi. You know he will. Alyssa
Obrigado.
Here. Hello from New Zealand this morning from EC Junior, and with a bon dia from EC Junior as well. Sounds like you could make a movie. Love romance, comedy, adventure. So true. From Madeira this morning. Bon dia from a very rainy Tessia this morning. Hola peeps from California. Bon dia from Chile. Hey. As a New Yorker, what do you make of Californians? I mean, what that kind of rivalry? How's that for you?
Well, you know, it's funny because I grew up in California, like from 8 years old all the way through college, and I've got this ridiculous surfer accent. So I love California. I always have. My mom's from Huntington Beach, and she's moving in June. Fingers crossed, and she'll be with us in Lisbon. But I love California during the day, and I love New York at night.
Oh, yes. What a combination. Fantastic. Our taxi man, Edmundo, we're going to go to him a bit later on because he is picking up some of these Brits that are arriving. So that's a road, Tama, the A22. So he's I think he's messaging us from being on the road there. Oh, wow. You worked with the heavy hitters. Absolutely. Comedy royalty on the Good Morning Portugal show this morning. Who are your favorite American comics, Tama?
You know, it's going to sound funny, but some of my biggest comedic inspirations weren't even comics. It was like Muhammad Ali was one of the first people that taught me to be funny. And then I know the Brits hate him, but on one side of the spectrum with the silliness, I love everything from like the Benny Hills and the Jerry Lewis's, the Lucille Balls, and then the other extreme, Richard Pryor, George Carlin. I love when comedy's a Trojan horse, that it makes you laugh, it feels like a gift, and then after it reframes the way that you think. And so Bill Burr is genius, Dave Chappelle, and Joan Rivers, I think, deserves to be on the Wall of Fame. She's an amazing comedian. So I love a mix of the old school and the new school.
Oh, amazing. Because talking of Benny Hill, my sometimes co-host on a Monday morning, Frank, just appeared in the green room and then left again. But he is a Canadian of Middle Eastern extraction. So I'm sure he does questions for you. Come back, Frank, and come on screen and join me and Tama this morning. I can see Shia LaBeouf playing you, says Doreen. You look so much like my brother and are making me miss him. So sorry about that, Doreen.
That's nice.
Bon dia from an American English boy this morning from Thunder Duck. Andy Barnett is here.
What a name.
Andy Barnett. And look at this, from Ashby de la Zouche as well. shortly to be in Villamora, Ashby de la Zouch in the UK, of course. I think it's safe to say we could all do with a good laugh, says Gary. You watch the clip that I've put in the comments, absolutely. Hello, Elena. Good morning from Aveiro this morning. You'll be up near there as well, Tama, when you go to Porto. Bon dia from London, Greenwich, from Chris.
Hey.
Bon dia todos from Paul and Louise, also in the UK. Lenny Cash, just popping in real quick to give you all a bon dia. It's a very friendly crowd, right? Bon dia a todos.
They're amazing.
My family is from New York. I'm first born in California. So arrived from California just a couple of months ago. Your mum is going to love it here. Isn't that nice to know?
I love it. Yeah, I'm screenshotting that just to send my mom. That's so sweet.
Go ahead. Are you
awesome audience you have.
They are lovely people, and you've been very kind with them so far. You're hearing about Brits, you're hearing about Californians. You've not made any observations yet, but maybe it's because it's like a first date, isn't it? I prefer the weird one, says Joel, like Jeff Dunham. It's funny how his act manages to talk to himself through dolls and the arguments. Another Joan Rivers fan in Victoria. Sorry, I've interrupted you there.
No, it's fine. I'm enjoying seeing the comments.
Mr. Bean.
I agree. Mr. Bean is better than Benny Hill.
Well, like I said, talking of Benny Hill, here's Frank Devane, Canadian of Middle Eastern exchange. I think he thought, it's going to be a boring with Carl. He saw Tamer Kattan on the street. I've got to get on the screen, said Frank, and so here he is. Frank, Tama, Frank. How's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, good to meet you, Frank.
Good to meet you, man. So what's going on this morning, boys?
Sorry, go on, Tama.
I was just going to say this is the greatest welcome I could have imagined to Portugal. You've been such a great
crowd, okay. So kind, you've just arrived.
Yeah, it's day 4. Now we're on our 4th day here.
Amazing. Which town?
We're in Alfama.
Very nice.
Soon we're heading up north to Porto on Thursday.
Oh, okay. All right. Very nice. It was that was Mr. Munson's hood. Actually, not Porto, but close to Porto.
Yeah. I moved a bit further to the south now, and when you do a Lisbon gig, may well come along to that because I'm only 50 miles from Lisbon now. Looking forward to that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's end of the month, so definitely I'll have tickets waiting for you on me.
Oh, superb! Thank you so much, Frank.
Yeah, but Tama, the important thing is in order to lure Mr. Munson to wherever you are, what you need to do is you need to find him his own wine merchant. He's very big on wine merchants, this guy.
I will bring you a nice bottle of wine from my man, Tama. I really will. When I find a new area. Bon dia todos from Adrian Caffrey this morning. Ludwig Dingledine, bon dia. Look at that. That's a name and a half, isn't it, Tama? Ludwig Dingledine.
How cool is that name?
Have you played Germany? Are you going to play Germany?
I have. I played Berlin quite a bit, and it's on the calendar before the end of the year. We're going to be back in Berlin. I believe in end of July, August.
Amazing.
But this summer, I'm going to be in London quite a bit. My home club in London is called Top Secret Comedy Club, as well as the Comedy Store. So I'm going to be, and also Covent Garden Comedy Club and a couple others, Angel. So I'm going to be in London quite a bit, but we're also going to be touring in Germany is one of the places we're going to. We're going to Austria at the end of the month, in Vienna and Graz.
Oh, we have such a lovely network here. So hopefully this will help bring all the people back into the clubs. I mean, what a terrible year it's been for comics, right?
It's been rough. I hate to say it, but it's a blessing in disguise.
Go on, carry on. No, seriously, after you.
Of course, my initial reaction was it's a terrible year, and we all thought that as comedians, of course. But really, I mean, it feels more like a cocoon because as we're coming out, I feel like I'm a better comedian. I've fallen deeper in love with comedy. I know that nothing will ever make me leave this thing that I love. And comics have become more cooperative and thought more about working together. And that spirit of cooperation has just been so incredibly positive. I feel like I'm a year 1 comic and it's my 10th year. So I couldn't be happier.
And it's going to be an emotional moment, isn't it, for you doing the tour and for people to be back in that intimate environment of a comedy club, I think that's going to add something really special to the atmosphere, I think.
100% agree. I mean, listen, I grew up as a boxer, right? I grew up in boxing gyms. Look, I got a golden gloves necklace from my dad. I'm covered in tattoos. And it's when I got my first booking in Dublin in January, actually, I cried. I really did. I really genuinely love this. I would do it for free. It makes me so happy. It brings me, I love making people laugh. Comedy isn't what I do. It's who I am. Especially because my background, I have a Muslim father and a Jewish mother. So, my sense of identity is like, so all my life, people have been telling me what I'm not. But even the people who couldn't agree on what I was, they never disagreed on whether or not I was funny. And so comedy isn't just my job. It's literally my sense of identity. And to get that back, I'm so appreciative and so grateful. And I'll never take it for granted again.
Amazing. Are you all right for a few more minutes? We're loving having you here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Did you see Frank's face then? You said you're of mixed Muslim and Jewish parentage, and Frank just went, "Oh." How was that? How was that?
It's funny. My parents were really progressive. Like my dad was a Beatles cover band. My mom her family was Jewish, but they on paperwork they switched to Coptic Orthodox so they could stay in Egypt and keep their business. But my mom was my mom and dad always preached Egyptian first. We're Egyptians first. And that's when Egypt was the greatest, when we were all Egyptians. When they divide us is when governments and people in power tried to control us. So at a very early age, I was embracing punk rock music and music that was the music of the people. So I was really proud of my parents, that they came from a place like Egypt and they learned to find the things in common as opposed to the things that made them different.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And a rich theme of comedy as well, right?
100%. Yeah. What's funny is they didn't have stand-up comedy in Egypt, but during the Egyptian Revolution, there was an article in the newspaper about a group of kids that created a comedy school to teach people how to do stand-up just so they can get out their frustration. And I found them online. I messaged them. They messaged me back and said, hey, you're a real comedian. If you call yourself a real Egyptian, you should be here. So I went to Egypt during the revolution and I performed for the protesters. And I'm really proud to say that those 4 comedians now are the godfathers of a thriving stand-up comedy scene in Egypt, as well as a comedy school. And they just put out an independent film about the Egyptian comedy scene that's getting great reviews from film festivals. So I couldn't be more proud.
Well, absolutely, and quite rightly so. That is incredible, and that's the role comedy has to play in our culture, right? And I think in many ways we have lost our sense of humor a little bit in this time as well, haven't we? Yeah,
definitely.
Okay,
not us, Carl.
Not us, we hope, but I think there are signs of sense of humor failure, and thank goodness there are people like Tama coming back into the clubs and sticking it to the man. I mean, this is what you were referring to before. Sticking it to the man from the comedy stage, that's really important as well. No wonder they didn't support you very well. Bon dia alegria from Bearders 22. Any plans to visit the south of Portugal from Andy? Are you going to go down south as
100%.
well as
Absolutely, 100%. We're coming soon, and things are just starting to open up now, and so we're having conversations, making sure everyone's really safe and really comfortable. We take every precaution, and and so we've got conversations that have already begun, and hopefully we'll be in the Algarve soon.
Oh, excellent! I think you'll rock it in the Algarve. That'll be amazing.
Cheers.
Stephen Wells, bon dia. He's a funny guy. Is Stephen? He's been quite restrained this morning. Different times, different types of humor, says Antonio F. That's interesting. Yeah. How comedy changes, obviously, to suit the times. Hi, near where I came from. That was my manor. I can't remember where that was, Chris, but share with TMTV. Okay, we'll find out what that is, and then we'll share it. Thank you, Edmundo. I mean, you're going to have a busy day down there in the Algarve, I think, on and around the 822. Another wonderful human being on the Good Morning Portugal show this morning. You have been given the official Hank Staliker Award of being a wonderful human being, Tama. And I completely agree. Hey, Tama, like Hammer, great to see you this morning. Do we act fast?
Great to see you guys.
That's Jerry who sent your email to me last night. I mean, we're talking about 11 o'clock, I think. Night. I was just doing a bit of preparation, and I sent you an email. Are you up for joining me in the morning? And you're like, yeah, sure. See you there. So I really
I love it.
Frank, good morning this morning, but not sporting the fade. He's got this new Cuban haircut, Tama. I don't know if he's going to show us.
I love it.
There he is. Look at
that. It's going all over the place.
I told him he looked like a 90s rapper, but that's just because I'm jealous. The only laughs I get are the only laughs I get are with women in the bedroom for the first time. You got to take them where you find them. I think, Tama, when you said you were.
Hank, you're letting yourself down, buddy.
Say more, Gary, on that. Are we off topic this morning? We are so off topic this morning. I'm quite glad about that. But we will come back to it. We will come back to the British invasion. Give me a call and I will pick up, says Edmundo. So we can call him in his taxi in a little while. Tama, you've been so kind with your time this morning. Is there anything you want to say about Portugal, about British? I'd love to hear some of your observations about British people, because I think we can take it. And maybe even Canadians. Stick it to maybe some observations about Canadians and Brits before you go, if you don't mind.
You know what? I feel like one of my favorite quotes is from Socrates, where he says, I'm neither a Greek or an Athenian, but a citizen of the world.
Yes.
There you go.
I've always loved that quote, but not until I've come to Portugal have I actually met citizens of the world. And that's what I love about the digital nomad community, and what I love about expats. These are the bravest people. These are the people that are most like the people that started America. The people that started America were the ones that left and looked for better life. So I feel like expats and immigrants and people who leave home countries and go somewhere else and begin a new community, those are my favorite people in the world. Those are the people that keep the world moving forward. And so I feel so fortunate and so lucky to be surrounded by those kinds of people. Brits, Canadian, and Brits to me are like, I mean, man, those are the people that taught me how to be funny. I mean, my comedy really came from British comedy, and I just feel really lucky. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Jacqueline, loving your quote. They're a citizen of the world. I worked in Cairo a few times back 20 years ago. Was so sad when religious tolerance broke down there. Just watch your stand-up, Tama. And this must be a reference to one of your gags. Terrible swimmer, ha ha ha. Great human beings on the Good Morning Portugal show this morning. What else have we got here? Yes, citizens of the world. I love that as well. Great observation from Victoria. Amen, brother, on expats and immigrants. And that's probably a great place to leave it. Catch this man in Porto on May the 20th. 7 shows at 7 and 9 p.m. Porto, the Teatro Sada Madeira. You can get tickets at ticketline.sapo.pt. It has been such a pleasure having you. A lovely, more love that. Oh, I must have found my place. When people ask me where I'm from, I can always say I'm a citizen of the world. Thank you for that this morning, Tam.
Thank you so much for having me. So great meeting you guys, and look forward to meeting you in real life soon.
Igualmente, and have a beautiful, happy, healthy marriage life here in Portugal. All the best to you and your lovely Anna.
Thanks so much. You guys too. Hope to see you soon.
Tamer.
Ciao.
Cheers.
Frank, wow.
What's going on?
That comedian has been on stage with all the greats that you love, that you and I love. How amazing, huh?
Yeah, no, he sounds like this. This guy sounds like he's full of life, and it's so amazing to see a person like this on a Monday morning. I kind of doesn't he, like, as soon as I saw him, doesn't he look like the first thing that I saw? I was just like, oh, Carl is on with Charles Bronson. Do you remember?
I do. What were those movies? Death Wish, was it?
Yeah, no. Charles Bronson, the guy from the UK, the guy who was in jail. They even made a movie of him. What's his name? That British actor played him. If you get a chance, do a Google on Charles Bronson, and you'll see exactly this guy.
I think we're mixed up there. But that will be decoded by our community here this morning. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not sure. Were you thinking Charles Manson, who I'm often?
No. He was calling himself Charles Bronson. He had a different name, and that actor who he's now a big Hollywood star. He played him in one of the first flicks that he did, and he was amazing as.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Very yes, but he's got one of those sort of faces and shapes, isn't he? As our lovely Tama there. Who you think you're seeing all sorts of people in there, and I would go see that rom-com about him. And did you hear the bit at the beginning about how he met his wife and how they got married in the last year in Gibraltar?
No.
You got to watch the replay because it's such an story, and I hope it makes it to the screen one day. Loving the Monday mornings is Donna Jacqueline here. And Michael is apologizing about his caps lock. Great start to the week, says Louise about Tama there. And I'm shy, says Vitor. I think you need to get in touch with Tama and set up a little tour for him in the very north of Portugal. Vitor there. And Michael says, yes, in Porto on the 20th. Absolutely. My wedding anniversary. That'd be a lovely treat. Mass murderer, Charles Bronson. Most dangerous man. Okay, thank you for that, Gary, man of reason, sorting that out for us. And I'm actually glad you didn't say that to him while he was on the screen.
No, I was actually I would have, because the thing is, I thought he would have found it funny, because as soon as he would have gone and Googled himself, he would have said, "Okay, now I know what Frank is all about."
Yes, indeed. Yeah, no, I think he would have taken it well. Before we started this morning, I was asking him if he had anything to say about British people apart from their teeth, and it was hilarious. So do go and see him. Bearders22, Municipio de Lagos put this on FB. Hold on. Am I reading something good or bad out here? Perfeita para fugir a fama da cidade. Auto-translated as the perfect option to flee the city's badass. Should have said hustle and bustle. Okay, Bearders22. I think we got that.
Wow.
I'm inspired to join Bumble now. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a one happy story. And I'm sure Bumble are keen to get in with Tamer and his wife there to showcase the story. So Tom Hardy was the guy you were looking for. Charles, we've changed him again to Charles Branson, the famous murderous entrepreneur, Charles Branson. 5,000 influx of tourists. This is what we were going to talk about. And I'm trying to ease into this and to see if we can bring any comic levity to this situation in the South today. Let's read through this together and see what people think. Fingers crossed that COVID infections stay low in 2 weeks' time. I think that's for your arrival there, isn't it? So I'm gonna bring the story onto the screen. 3, 2, 1. Algarve braces for this was written last night for tomorrow's tourist invasion. That will be today. We might try getting Edmundo on the phone as well, but he was in with an early comment. And I'm going to stick this on the screen for you now, if my tech will allow it. Let me give it another try here. Did you have a nice weekend, Frank, by the way?
Oh, it was wonderful weekend. Too bad it was raining quite a bit, and it reminded me of the Algarve.
There's a bit of Portuguese comedy for you. More than 7,000 holiday makers are due into the Algarve from midnight tonight, and that was midnight. 9 hours 44 minutes ago. The invasion, it's not like the media, is it, to use words that might stir people's emotions? Natasha, honestly, writing here in the Portugal Resident, the invasion will be made up principally of Britons, a word that is only often used in the press. 5,500 of them arriving on 17 flights into Faro airport. But there will also be another 8 flights arriving from various destinations in Europe. Regional tourism treading water for the past 7 months is literally counting the moments, said João Fernandes, president of ATA, the Algarve Tourism Association. The last week in May, i.e. the one following this week, coincides with the half-term holidays in the UK. That's going to put my car rental up, isn't it? There are hotels that are already almost fully booked, he told reporters, adding that there should be no reason for complaints about the weather either. The region, I'm going to tell you about the weather that's coming up for the summer in Portugal as well. The region is going to have a week with temperatures over 30 degrees. We are going from famine to feast here, aren't we? The virus concerns still niggling. Mr. Fernandes is pushing for vaccines to be fast forwarded for all tourism professionals in the country. It's a bit late in his mindset. The sector is strategic. Should be given the same kind of priority as health workers and teachers. This was him talking at the weekend, presumably. Meantime, the General Medical Council has warned of the potential dangers of importing the Indian variant by opening the country's doors to foreign travel. But it has to be said that as infectious as the variant may be, it is not putting added pressures on the health service in any of the countries outside India that have had it in community transmission. So what do you make of the story so far, Frank, with this and everybody else who's watching?
First off, before we go into the story, Carl, don't you think this form of journalism has this trend of journalism needs to kind of end, this kind of sensationalism? Because I used to think, the newspapers like The Sun in England, and in Canada we've got one or two newspapers like this as well. Well, immediately they want to capture your attention by doing something sensational like that. I kind of feel it's tad ridiculous when you start, Algarve braces for all these tourists, all these Brits coming in, and they're going to just go completely nutty. This is exactly the kind of journalism I saw when the Champions League final has just been moved to Porto. Yeah. And they said there's going to be about like 12,000 Brits coming in. And instead of embracing these people coming into your economy after the economy has been shut for such a long time, they're making it sound like these people, all they're going to do is drink and destroy property and go completely crazy. I think this kind of journalism needs to.
I think there's just a slight change to what you're saying there. They are going to drink. They're not going to destroy property. They're going to buy property and then go crazy. So that's mostly true. Just it's different what they're going to do to the property. They're going to be probably buying it or trying to buy it now. A lot of these Brits will be. But can you imagine? The last year in UK, and just in terms of comparison and relativity, you've been in lockdown. Actually, this is the scenario, and forgive me for focusing on the British angle here. Sure. But it is, it's a significant day, and it's a major boost, a shot in the arm for the Portuguese tourism and economy today, this very day. But if you imagine being British and being in lockdown, you've been furloughed, you couldn't have gone out to spend all this money that was coming in that you were doing very little for, presumably, except watching Netflix. You fly to Faro, you book a holiday and fly to Faro, and you're loaded suddenly, and you are comparing where you've come from with where you've arrived. And you're thinking, we should buy a place here. We should have got residency where we could, but we're going to do it now. I think there's going to be a lot of that with this. It's a bit like a holiday romance, isn't it? Everything is going to look not just 10 times better when you go on holiday. It's going to look 100 times better this time around, isn't it?
And people are going to gorge themselves. This is going to be the kind of buffet that people will go completely crazy on. And it's not a problem. I think it's a very good thing. It's very good for the Portuguese economy, which relies on it. I think it's a blessing that all of these tourists, it's a blessing when someone actually wants to go somewhere. There are not as many tourists wanting to go to Greece right now. Same with a lot of these beautiful places, but they want to come to Portugal. It's a beautiful blessing. And I think the economy, if it does well, we do well because we live over here right now.
So we're hoping there's going to be enough shrimps and sagresh and superboc.
They've stacked it up. What do you think they've been doing for the past year? They've been making beer. They've been putting in some kind of warehouse somewhere for punks like you and I to show up and start drinking.
Don't eat year-old shrimps, everybody. That's not going to end well. So the quote, just going back a bit to our lovely community's comments here, the quote I always think of is the British and the Americans are two people separated by a common language. It's so true. 7,000, and Frank's right. The article is written from a slightly sensational point of view. But I mean, they're just, I guess you could just say they're just doing their job. And I have found Natasha a great help in this last year, but I guess she couldn't resist on the influx or swarm, as Penny's putting it.
But this kind of article would be even better. Would be more sensational if they turned it around. They said that, oh, Canadians are coming.
I mean,
Canadians.
What is the collective noun of excited Canadians? Just a small, orderly collection.
Orderly line up. It's all about line up.
Okay.
It's like, where do I peacefully line up, and how many times within a minute am I going to say please and thank you?
Very good. Obviously, a little bit of a vestigial behaviour from the colonial days there. Not to be confused, Charles Bronson, not to be confused with Richard Branson, but just as deadly. Oh, bit of comedy from Gary. Here's what he looks like. So yes, well spotted there, Frank, and probably worried for my safety, and that's why you joined me on the screen this morning. Best of luck with the invasion of the Algarve. I look forward to hearing how it goes. I hope everyone behaves themselves and has a good time. Okay, so let's just stop there for a minute. I mean, what does behaving yourself look like when you come to Portugal, having been locked down for months and months and months, loaded with a load of wonga in your back pocket, keen to party? I mean, let's be honest here. Let's be straight. I mean, people will in the back of their minds be thinking, I should behave myself. But we know what happens, don't we, when people are ready to party, ready to blend and mingle, etc., etc.
But after a year that we've spent, I think we should give all human beings a pass, a bit of a pass, where people can go let their hair down if they've got any left, and they should just go out there and express themselves. For a year and a half, you've been sitting in your living room, you've been counting the change in your sofa. Now you've had a chance to come out and spend it. So now you're going to go out and you're going to go to the beach. You're going to have your drinks. I suggest people are going to really, really enjoy this. They're going to cherish this. I don't think people are going to go out of line. It's maybe the kids, but the kids, this is what they do anyways. They're going to go to Albufeira. They're going to go down the strip, get drunk, have a good time. And even they are going to bring something to the economy. God bless the rental properties they're going to be in, but still, it's going to be amazing.
And the repairs industry thereafter. I mean, we're not condoning any kind of behaviour here. We're just being honest and sort of realistic about what's going to happen here. Because you can't just say, can you? Let's hope everyone behaves, because we know some people won't. It's how we manage the reality of human life.
Yeah, they're not going to the Philharmonic Orchestra. People are going to go and have drinks. They're going to listen to hopefully live music. They're going to watch Tamer do comedy. There's going to be this complete thing of people enjoying themselves. Why not? Why not? They've come over here to spend money. Spend your money and enjoy yourself.
Okay, so and here's the thing: it behoves us to remind people that will be this masked law. That many, I suspect, will fall foul of. It might be good for the Portuguese economy as well, because there will be fines of anything between 50 and 100 euros if you don't wear a mask on your approach to the beach and in the restaurants, and you can't play sports of more than, I think, 2 people gathering. And there are lots of things that people will need to be mindful of, especially the mask fines, whilst approaching the beach, because you'll get your budgie smugglers on. Don't forget to pack your mask, tuck it into your budgie smugglers and take it with you, because it looks like you're going to be fined, and there will be patrols to make sure people are wearing their masks on. To me, it's the most bizarre thing, isn't it, to be completely almost naked in the south of Portugal and a mask, 2 masks, one upstairs, one downstairs, and this is how it's going to be. And it looks like people will be fined if they don't adhere to that, which could cause some rancor and bitterness, which will also be reported in the papers.
The thing is, the seed of doubt has been put in people's heads, right? I believe people will behave themselves because they do realize they've seen, even the ones who are younger, in their 20s, in their 30s, they have seen people get sick. And they have seen people be in very bad conditions, so they will wear the mask. I'm quite sure. I believe in humanity. I think that people will use common sense, and even the silly willies
Yeah.
like yourself and me. We will go out there, wear our mask. One mask will be hanging off over here. You're running around like that guy at the beach doing slow motion. You'll be Rocky at the beach, right, Carl Munson? I can see you at the beach with the thing hanging on one side and just doing one of these.
He's talking about the mask and not the trunks there. For Paul, Portugal allowing Brits without vaccinations. They must be crazy, says Paul. Belated birthday wishes for you, Paul. If you haven't said happy birthday to Paul this week, you must do it now in the comments, please. He had
Happy birthday, Paul.
They must be crazy. Just a negative test. It's just let the young ones in so they can get some money in, says Paul there. Marcus Belmont, hello, guys. At this moment, all British people can visit Portugal, but here in Porto, not seeing many tourists yet, I think. I mean, we were just talking about Faro Airport. I mean, this is going to be the same at all the airports, isn't it? Porto, Lisboa, and Faro. But there's going to be the surge in the south, of course. Absolutely, Frank. What that kind of journalism has had its day. Most people seem to have had enough of it. Not me, I hasten to add. But I think you have to see it in context, not to be taken too seriously, perhaps. But I guess it's difficult for people not to if they don't understand the idiom. Wish I could be on one of those planes. What think that business would be delighted? What the businesses will be delighted? Yeah, of course, Iris. Football fans do that, and English have a very bad reputation over their actions here. So no wonder, really, says Joel. But again, we are talking about a similar concept here, aren't we? Of how a few rotten apples spoil it for a lot of other people, whether it be COVID or football, right?
They do. It's even among you go out with a group of guys, 6 or 7 guys. Out of them, one gets completely plastered, or 2 of them get plastered. You can't say that the other 5 are doing the same thing. They're actually babysitting that guy for the rest of the night. It's this when you paint everyone with the same brush. It's kind of difficult. Plus, they're out there. If he's gotten that drunk, he spent some money that night.
Well said, Frank. I don't know that comment, but just generally speaking, Devin is approving of your sentiments this morning. Faro Airport, says Gary, is going to look like when someone dropped a bag of marbles with people running everywhere. A standby for the next bit of media reporting of. I mean, it's going to go one way or another, isn't it? If people are going to arrive in Faro and they're just going to be waved through. And they're going to just be getting their wallets out, and it's going to be like a spend fest. People would have been drinking in the airport. We know people, don't we? We know what they're like. They'll have been drinking. There's this airport drinking thing, and they're thinking, "I'm not too much. Don't want to be thrown off the plane, but just enough to have a drink at 6 a.m, like Brits seem to want to do." And then they're going to be getting the first taxi, probably out of Faro Airport, someone like Edmundo, straight down the strip, and it is and there's going to be photographs in the press of that of Brits on holiday and the swarm and the invasion, or there's going to be a massive queue for 17 hours as people are checked individually, and that's going to be a big old furore, isn't it, in the paper? So
we hope there is. We all hope there is. I hope that it all floods in and people actually say, "Listen, I want them to leave now." But I hope that doesn't happen as well. I hope we welcome everyone, and I hope it's peaceful. People come, spend their well-earned dollars, pounds, and have a wonderful time. The sun in the Algarve, it's plug and play sun, man. It's amazing. You as soon as you arrive, it's like the sky is like this close, and it's saying to you, "Oh, thank you for coming here."
Yes, upside down world time, Donna Jacqueline. Always a unique view. Time to think of the great blessings, the prosperity that is coming, as you said there, Frank. Perhaps will pay for any problems that may arise. Yeah, and I do favour money in the pockets of these small businesses of Portugal, don't you? And that's going to be lovely for the economy to be re-stimulated at that level, as well as the continent's Lidls and everybody else in the world.
Because for the past year, we have seen it. And, based on our conversations with a lot of locals, I'm sure you've had these conversations. The depression grows as you don't have any money to feed your family. And especially if you're in tourism, I kind of find that this is a blessing. We should take it as a blessing because these folks will get back to work. They will do well. And it'll be a overall a happier community.
Yep. Borders 22. Oh, sorry, Bearders, not Borders. What am I talking about? Brits have stashed away £200 billion during the pandemic. Amazing, isn't it? According to the Bank of England, hello inflation and higher interest rates. A gaggle of Canadians is a collective noun, pardoning themselves into the Algarve. A polite time will be had by all. Oh, agree with Frank. Time to tear loose. Says Frank. Capricorn. It's the extremes, isn't it? What are we like, us human beings? Bon dia from London. Capricorn 12. Check out the Western Algarve, the mix between the sea and nature. Casa Chic. So that's a good call. I mean, it's not all like the Strip in Albufeira. The Algarve is absolutely beautiful. Something for everybody, for sure. The Algarve will be full of drunk foreigners partying in the streets, especially the younger ones. The police will have a hard time. And they'll make a lot of money as well, I suspect, with the fining thing. But yes, who would want to be a police officer girding their loins for that? Well, I think some cops do like it. With 16 UK flights arriving today alone at Faro, I'm sure the GNR will be busy later, especially at 10:30 p.m. Yeah, this is the thing. It's not business as usual, as some people will be anticipating from their earlier Portuguese holidays. Can you imagine let alone what it's like to be the police who are tooled up for this? But what about being a bar owner who has to break the bad news that in 5 minutes we're closing at 10:30?
Well, most of the pubs in London or in England close at 11. So this is going to be half hour earlier. People are going to drink up a bit earlier. Probably everyone will be smashed by 10. And the cops who've been pumping up for the past year, getting ready for
oh gosh,
with the batons.
I hope to give people a lift home. Come on, be nice, play nicely, everybody, please. €200, Carl, for the fines here. Police is passing that amount in fines. I think on the beaches it was suggested it was going to be 50 to 100. Don't forget the testing costs. Yes, that's going to change things, isn't it? That will limit those that can't afford them. So families will be very constrained. It will be interesting to see the demographics because they have been characterized as tourists. It might be that those 5,500 are nothing like that many, and they won't all be boozy tourists either. Frank, after a couple of no one will remember their masks. This is what we suspect with human behavior, right?
I suspect that
Portugal should bring a catering size pack of tea bags. You can sell them for a huge profit. Watch out, Richard Branson. The year of the 2 mask holiday. Was upstairs, downstairs. Sorry, I've missed some comments there. Reese, I think most of those going over in the first wave have been really desperate to get there. Yeah, many who have homes there and just need to get them to them finally. It could be that. It could be a damp squib, couldn't it? Jim White, happy birthday, Paul. To Paul on his recent birthday. Munson with Damask and a Union Jack banana hammock. Okay, thank you for that. I'm trying to move from those sorts of stereotypes.
I just got the visual, and all right, let's move along.
Let's move along. Parabéns, Paul, from Paul and Louise. Paul enjoying his greetings this morning. Frank, your faith in humanity is very big, says Ludwig Dingeldine. Sadly, a lot of people don't respect the locals here. French tourists don't respect anything. A bit of a broad brushstroke there. Safety, distance, mask is very sad. Well, we will see. We will see what happens here. Running in reverse, is that down the beach? I think. As we see ourselves, I think from my point of view, behavior is respecting the locals. Yes, absolutely respect the locals. Please think about that if you haven't already. People are wanting to make a living and serve you. Definitely show some respect and big tips, please. Ludwig Dingeldine, obviously visitors must always respect the locals. Yeah, for sure. Can someone please, says Alda, have a word with the Australian government? Okay, we'll do that for you now. What would you like Frank and I to say to the Australian government, Alda, when we'll do our best to fit that in this morning?
The PM is on my speed dial. I'm going to talk to him. He's a fellow Commonwealth guy. It's all right. I can talk.
As I suspected. Only one of you is dearly seeking an OBE, though, I suspect. Sweden is worst in class at the moment, so it will take some time for me to visit. Meanwhile, I love your show and for bringing a bit of Portugal to me. Anna Olsen, it is our pleasure to do that to you, for you, I should say. Portugal is going to have WRC and the Champions League grand finale in Porto.
Beautiful.
Yep. Thanks, Jim, from Paul there. And there are good and bad people in every country. Ain't that the truth?
True. That's true.
And it's about time we kind of realize that, isn't it? Rather than, I don't know, idealizing, moralizing.
Villainizing anyone is not going to get us anywhere. I think what we have to do is we have to work as a community. And villainizing, oh, that one's an American, that one's a Canadian. Yeah, you can try villainizing the Canadians. We'll just come out and laugh and say please and thank you.
Yes, that's right, and sort of point south. Portugal has so far only detected 9 cases of the Indian variant, apparently, according to this. We'll just finish this article, and then I'm going to go to the heat wave article, which makes for much better reading, perhaps.
Oh yeah, heat wave.
With regard to cruise ship travel, this reopened this weekend. Like air travel, anyone open to anyone from countries showing less than 500 patients per 100,000 inhabitants. Okay, so that's opening up as well, and that's where it all began, isn't it? I mean, we do have quite a poor collective memory, which is in some ways a good thing, some ways a bad, as with all things. But there was that cruise ship, wasn't there, that became quarantined? That was the epicenter of a coronavirus outbreak at the beginning. In the lead up, but we know a lot more now. In the lead up to tomorrow's big moment, this was reported last night, Secretary for State of Tourism, Rita Marques, has said Portugal should expect tourism this season to grow between 20 to 30% on figures for last year. It'll be a touch near the business generated in 2019, but definitely a step in the right direction. So let's look at this sizzler of a summer. There again, another fantastic.
Well, that's a sexy shot. Is that from your porch there, Carl Munson, in your new porch?
No, that was Faro Airport.
Okay.
Some people will have experienced it early this morning. But sizzler, there's another word from the lexicon of the mass media, right? Natasha again here. She's a busy lady at the moment. This summer, get this, folks, is expected to be much hotter than normal, with specialists predict. Yes, I should say at this point, I'm not an epidemiologist, with specialists predicting various moments when temperatures exceed 40 degrees through June, July, and August.
Wow. Promises, Natasha.
Well, that's right, Frank, because often these predictions are not very accurate, are they? But we'll see. Talking to TSF Radio, climate specialist Carlos Pires, attached to the sciences faculty of the University of Lisbon, has explained it's not possible to predict the exact moments, but there is going to be an anomaly of the quarterly temperature average of about 1.5 degrees. Oh, a whole degree and a half. The phenomenon is a consequence of global warming, climate change that we talked about with Doug last week. Unusually hot, dry weather will affect the whole of southern Europe, particularly Spain and Italy. And again, human nature, the tourists are thinking, bring it on. Portugal is a bit on the edge geographically, and so won't suffer the worst. The worst will be the Spanish and Italian interiors and the south of France, said Mr. Pires. The good news is that although temperatures will be higher than normal, the risk of wildfires should not increase. Thank goodness for that. There's a lot of water in the soil and the aquifers, said the climate specialist. The soil isn't too dry. It's fairly humid still. So even if there are very dry conditions and a lack of rain through June and July, because reservoirs have accumulated a lot of water, it won't be so serious for the balance, the water balance, and for wildfires. That's really good news and good to know about, because that's everybody's fear, obviously, or can be, when the hot temperatures come for Portugal. TSF concluded its text saying we should expect temperatures to increase by as much as 2 degrees this summer, but in coming decades until 2050, the intensity should accentuate a great deal. Curiously, 2050 is also the year by which large tracts of the Portuguese coast are expected to be underwater, irrespective of any action on climate change. Well, there's a cheerful thing. That's the thing you're talking about. With
That's
the main
exactly it. Let's start partying before we all go underwater. It's going to be. We have to think this way. Let's do it right now, because if it's not this pandemic, it'll be something else, and we can't have this. We got to go out and have a wonderful time. Work hard, play hard.
Yes, and be wise. I guess all of these things aren't incompatible with each other, are they? For us to grow, evolve, and develop personally, as well as enjoying our lives. There's this suggestion, isn't it? It's like one or the other. But I think I'd like to think, Frank, you and I exemplify a way forward that has a bit of both in. But we're not the judges of that. Tell the Australians that our wine. Oh, this is good. A diplomatic outrage. tell the Australians that our wine is better than theirs, and if they don't believe it, they should come and try it. That will get them going. That's an Englishman talking about Portuguese wine.
All right,
Joe,
I'm not saying that to the PM, man. He's on my speed dial. There's a reason why he's on my speed dial. I ain't saying that. I'm going to tell him that the wine that he sells, well, I can compete. I can compare it to Canada because Canadians do decent wine too, Niagara Falls. But I'm not going to do it.
which you don't hear very much about, strangely. Can't wait to get down to the Algarve and represent the USA spring break party skills. Yes, that was a grim sight, wasn't it? Who wants 40 degrees? Frank, I would like to add another mask, more of a sling, really, for my sagging chin. The three mask scenario for the Algarve. Thank you, Jacqueline. No one wants 40 degrees. Some people do, don't they? Those really leathery guys that you see. We've talked about these particular blokes before. They've got very brown skin and very grey, hairy chest, and
It's like there's a layer of like when you see that old leather couch and you say like this person is actually wearing that leather couch. Some guys like that. You've seen them. Stop laughing. You know you've seen these guys. And you've greeted them and you've said, "Hey, listen, how'd you get to be this way?" Or at least you were thinking that way.
Well, I'm a bit reluctant to criticize them openly because there was a time when I used to criticize and laugh at bald men, and now look at me. And I'm thinking, I don't want to go the same way as that guy who you're talking about, who is like a rich shade of chestnut from putting himself out in every possible opportunity to sun his leathery body with a very brief pair of trunks, with a few wispy grey hairs on his chest, maybe a ponytail. As well,
we've all had this friend. There was a friend of mine in west of Canada, a Brazilian guy who used to work at a nude beach, and he used to sell lemonade at the nude beach like all day, and he used to go back and forth. And by the end of the day, if you would see him, this guy was not just tan; he was a leather couch man.
Leather couch, a rich shade of chestnut.
Yes.
Still with like waxed chestnut. Still not warm enough for walking naked for Joel. That's northern Portugal for you. Twice last year it went over 50. So this could be fun. Says yeah, because we're talking about averages there, of course, aren't we? I am not worried. I live on a hill. Well, good for you, Joel. Yes, we're all in this together. Apart from those who live up the hill, perhaps we should all head for the hills and find the cooler weather, says Ian. I like it. The hive mind is considering the options here. Probably over a glass of wine. Prosecco, Peggy! In the house. Just received her
Peggy!
Good morning and congratulations to you, Peggy. I believe that to be your wish there. Bon dia, Carl and Frank from Peggy. Lovely to have your company this morning and celebrating. If you drink Prosecco every day, how do you celebrate? Frank, it's 40 degrees. Yes, centigrade, not Fahrenheit. Thank you for that, Stephen. Portugal is going to have hot waves of dry weather in the summer, 40 degrees centigrade or more, says Marcus. Ugh, well, it is summer. Yay, great news. Stephen, are people going to have burn lines on their faces when they wear a smaller mask on day 2? Yes, I wonder how that's going to work. So many things to consider.
It's going to be this patch of no sun and this patch of a lot of sun. It's going to be a lot of comic moments, at least for people like myself and you who walk around and have like all these crazy thoughts in their head and then they share it with their friends later.
And things we haven't even thought of yet.
Yes.
Speaking of as a leather couch, this is George is that guy, and he's still here. 40 degrees is okay with me. There you go. Someone said, who likes 40? There's your man there. Can we all say sunscreen 70 plus? I'm not a sunscreen person, but
me neither.
A good shout for those who need to be reminded of those things. Stephen Wells, 40 degrees is 100 Fahrenheit. Says trying to talk Jordinger out of it. Okay, a word in from Edmundo is that. The first word is if you fly to Portugal, Algarve, and you need airport transfer, private car at your disposal while you're on holidays, private tours, local market, city. We're offering mask protection, COVID-19 for each scheduled service. The vehicle is disinfected. Get this, with isopropyl disinfectant in order to ensure a high level of safety of the COVID-19 to the COVID-19. He is in our business directory catch me. It's not catch me if you can. Catch me transfers, I believe. But Taxi Man Edmundo, anyway, check him out in our community on expatsportugal.com. He's on the road this morning, and he says 17 planes if they come full, which they don't. Challenging the narrative here. They don't. 160 people per plane. It's half, but it's still good that it's starting, he says. So challenging this idea of the invasion and the swarm looks to me possibly like it's going to be just okay, right, Frank?
Oh, it's going to. This is the first day. Give it a chance. Give peace a chance there, buddy. Tomorrow you're going to have more planes coming in. Day after tomorrow. This week is going to be crazy for you, Edmundo. You're going to have a wonderful time this week.
Yes, you're not going to have any time to talk to us. Piebald mask wearers, says Jacqueline, and I will get a nice facial tan laying maskless next to my new pool, says Peggy.
Oh, yes.
Indeed, that sounds lovely. Sounds like an opportunity to celebrate. Maybe a glass of Prosecco, Peggy. And for extra insurance, on a lighter note, sorry, no, not on a lighter note. This was Joel we're talking about. And for extra insurance, a lighter will be light to make sure the disinfection is. Oh, if you want extra insurance, you've got to get in there with a disinfection. The disinfectant, I suspect, is what he's saying. Alder Curtis, okay. No overseas holidays for Aussies. They're keeping us captive. Could you guys lobby the Australian government to let us out? Even with a Portuguese passport, I don't think they'll let me out. And that is very draconian, is it not, Frank? Given where the rest of the world is. I mean, depends on how you look at it. But I don't know what to say. I mean, on your
Kiwis are pretty much doing the same thing, right? Kiwis are doing the same thing. They're not coming out, and they're not allowing their people out. Because they're saying, hey, listen, if you're going to bring this virus over here, it's going to be a huge problem. The Australian economy is doing very well. They've got amazing beaches. So maybe for the next year, Australians will kind of have to stay over there before they can fly out here.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, but it's a serious issue, isn't it? This, and I feel the pain there, Alder. People are being held captive, aren't they, in the country?
This is the thing, freedom, like, what we call about in our countries, and what some people like talking about, freedom in these Western countries. Sometimes governments do these kinds of things, maybe under a guise, maybe under something else. But in the end, you have to believe in humanity, and hopefully they are doing the right thing for you.
Yes, and that's a great point, isn't it? I mean, we Hammer. I called him Hammer. Tama. I called him Hammer because it rhymes. This is how to remember his name. Well, we've had two Hammers. We had MC Hammer in the shape of Frank this morning, and Tamer the Hammer Kattan, the comedian. But there he is talking about being citizens of the world, which the Australians and the Kiwis aren't being allowed to be, are they? Only in spirit and in mind, which is what Tama was saying. But it seems to me that you would hope, wouldn't you, that governments would help you to be a citizen of the world rather than keeping you captive in your own country. That's what I would like to see, personally.
It's made this past year has made a lot of governments very paranoid. The Kiwis have been able to maintain. It's kind of easy for Australia and for New Zealand to keep away from the rest of the world, but reintegrating their populations, this is going to be a bit of a task. I think it's going to take Australia and the Kiwis another season to bring everybody back in.
It's incredible, isn't it? And we are attempting to get our facts right here, as we should. The first part of the fact check was that
not the Canadians, we're here.
Joel is talking about the dangers of the isopropyl alcohol inside a car. When you are we allowed to smoke in this taxi? No,
no,
you're definitely not. Jean Dinger is trying to give you some comfort, Alder. You have a travel bubble with New Zealand, don't you? And New Zealand ain't so bad. And okay, fair enough. But it's kind of, the point is that the government seem to have forgotten they are civil servants who should best be assisting people in their human rights, let's put it that way, rather than infringing upon them. And obviously, there's a balance to be struck, and there are many factors and variables in this. But it does see Australia is looking rather draconian. But I guess, and I hear a lot of what I would call sort of Stockholm syndrome, where Aussies are saying, yes, it's for our own good kind of thing. But I'm just like you, Frank, and I think Alda, just so not comfortable with that. Personal. As far as I'm aware, Kiwis can leave, but we have to do 2 weeks quarantine on the way back in at $3,000, which
There you go.
which is, of course, another way of saying you poor people can't do that. We have 10 degrees centigrade and rain. So, yeah, there's a nice comparison. Possible 40s, even 50s in Portugal. 10 degrees centigrade and rain in Poland at the moment. And Oz isn't so bad for holidays either. It's true. New Zealand, Australia, some of the most beautiful countries in the world, but we're having an intersection with the conversation about human rights and movement here, aren't we? And literally being a citizen of the world. I miss Portugal much, says Barbara. My family is in Portugal, not New Zealand, also buying a home and need to organize work, says Alda. Really feel your pain, Alda. That must be really horrible for you. So on that note, where we've touched upon human rights, governments that may be overstepping the mark, amazing comedians who've just got married in Gibraltar and landed in Portugal, and the late but excellent arrival of my dear friend Frank here, where we've discussed many of these issues, and Frank's beautiful view, I think, on humanity and the influx, the invasion, the swarm of the Brits coming in, relaxing our minds about that. We wish you all a great day. Final word to you, Frank.
Well, it's enjoy the sunshine, enjoy coming over here to Portugal, taking it over, enjoying the sunshine, giving yourselves some much needed tans. And it's all stocked up. We've got beers, we've got alcohol, we've got great wine, we've got everything, we've got scenery.
And everything,
go at it.
Everything to get a nice leathery sofa skin.
Why not? Why not? You and I will get it within the next 2 months. You and I will be those guys.
Ciao, ciao. Have a great day, everybody.
Ciao, ciao.
Great week. Bye for now.